This is 365 Sports, powered by SicEm365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Coming to you in a sheer state of panic with Pierre Nugent. Pierre, I don't know if you've seen, you're a Vegas odds guy. If you've seen
I dabble.
Yeah, dabble a little. If you've seen the Vegas odds on Nick Saban's replacement, now that Dan Lanning has, posted a very artfully produced social media video and has said he's staying in the green grass of Eugene, Oregon. The next coach, Vegas says, and look, any coach that's up for this job would be stupid to say yes or to say no to it until he gets his raise from this current place. But Mike Norvell is at plus 150 right now to be the next Alabama coach. And I don't deserve this. I don't care about other FSU fans. I do love them all equally. But like me personally, I don't deserve it. I've been through a lot as, maybe the 10th to 20th most popular college football host from Florida State. I'm hoping I can crack the top 10, but it's just until I see him release his own artfully produced social media video, I will be in a sheer state of panic.
To answer your question, no, I had not seen the odds as to who the next head coach for Alabama will be. And boy, isn't that something? Isn't that something you've stumbled into today, my friend?
Yeah, no. And look, here's the thing. Alabama is the team that they picked to go in over Florida State in the playoff.
Correct.
40 years ago, they tried to hire Bobby Bowden and it didn't get done. And I just feel like there's some universal comeuppance coming to Florida State for stealing something they didn't earn or something. Like maybe some sort of deal was made with an imp or demon that has, caused this to happen. Like right when I feel good again, my emotions are shattered. It's the same thing that happened with Jimbo Fisher. Is that, oh my gosh, they won the national championship. I think this guy's kind of a dick.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's Alabama. We're going to see basically every name under the sun at this point come up for that coaching job. But, oh boy, it's not poetic. That's not the word I'm looking for. What's the word I'm looking for here if it ends up being Mike Norvell? That would just be a disastrous type of irony, perhaps. I don't know. That was just, I wasn't expecting that today. I'm not going to lie.
Look, I was totally expecting it as soon as I heard yesterday the bombshell dropped that Nick Saban had in fact retired. And now I find myself going, Nick, you sure you want to leave? What? I know that you're older and, you have health concerns and you want to enjoy your golden years, but what about me?
Yeah, right. Exactly. And it's a fair question. Fair question indeed. Yeah. What about Paul?
Yeah.
That's why I think every sports talk show across America is asking themselves right now. But what about our buddy Paul Catalina down in Waco?
Yeah, what about, I really feel that there's not a whole lot of people that consider my emotions when they make decisions. And it's
right, yes, yeah. Fair.
Yeah.
And you know what? Let's buck that trend today, pal. That comes to an end today.
Yeah, but to go through it, it would be the choices that Alabama, here's how good the job is. They have no bad options. Unless Greg Byrne hits his head, going into the meeting with the regents and everybody else, and says, you know what? There's this guy. He's at Shadron State. You're gonna love him. I'm giving him the job. Unless that happens, there's no bad options. No. Literally, the worst option for them, it appears right now, is Dabo Swinney, who's won 2 national championships. And the only reason he's a bad option is you have to wonder, does he want to play SEC football, which is that transfer portal, you have to open your door to it. You just can't throw kids in and take none out. And I don't think NIL has been a problem for Dabo. Like they're fine on NIL, but the transfer portal thing is what, would keep, I think, people being reticent about Dabo. But he is an alum. He played a national championship team. I mean, like, there's all these things. But that's the worst option, is a guy who's a little bit grumpy nowadays and won 2 national championships. The worst option. And then there's other ones like Mike Norvell, Kalen DeBoer, Steve Sarkisian, all who haven't won yet, but who have now rebuilt programs into contending teams. Look, I think Ryan Day should be an option for Alabama. And I don't think Ryan Day, he'd be jumping out of the frying pan and into a separate frying pan. But maybe he's just a little bit annoyed that it is what it is in the Big Ten with, I can beat everyone else by 45 points. If I lose to Michigan by 1, then all of that doesn't matter.
Right.
At least, and I will give this credit to Alabama fans, unless you straight up lose to a rival many years in a row, I think they kind of understand that, all right, it's not going to be perfect. Occasionally we're going to lose to LSU. Auburn might get us in the Iron Bowl every now and again. Georgia's really good right now. But at the end of the day, we're going to wake up in the morning and brush our teeth and look in the mirror and say, Roll Tide and beat Alabama. As where I don't think that clearly doesn't exist at Ohio State or Michigan, really, because they're so wrapped up in each other. The only other thing I can compare it to, and it doesn't go both ways, is A&M fans felt that way about Texas, and they're about to again, for so long when they were in the Southwest Conference and Big 12 together, is that A&M woke up in the morning and it was, Texas is in their song, right? When they sing Hullabaloo, Connect, Connect, and that it's saw Varsity's horns off, that's Texas. That's not anybody else that they've ever played. It was never kill a bear or, eat a horned frog or, right, whatever else it was, Razorback, that wasn't that. It was Texas.
Well, Gig'em is TCU.
Yeah, Gig'em is TCU. That's true. That is true. But that one's never going to happen again, ever. But yeah, they're singing that. And then Texas, equally hates them, but spends far less time on them mentally because they've got Oklahoma. They've got, they have a wife and a mistress when it comes to that, or they have 2 mistresses. And they're like, nah, we like the Oklahoma one's more important to us. Now it's about to change, I guess, again, because they're back in the conference. But that's kind of how it was. And, maybe if you go to Alabama, because he's been excellent, I don't know. I'm trying to get anybody but Mike Norvell.
Well, let's get into it then. Who do you like? What are the best options do you feel like for Alabama going into the future?
So, Kalen DeBoer has done a great job at Washington. He wins everywhere he goes. So, he's won at every level. He's someone who's just proven that way. To me, if I were, this is maybe my bias coming out, but I'd like to think that it's not. I would take DeBoer over Norvell right now, given the fact that he's won more than Norvell has and won championships at another level. Norvell's won, I think he won 1 conference title at Memphis. He's now won 1 at Florida State. DeBoer has now won conference titles in every conference he's ever played in. So, I think that would be interesting. I do think Dabo would be interesting because it would make him have to change. I think Day would be interesting because that would be another earth shatter. Ohio State's open now. Who are they going to go hire? That's you're jumping back and forth. I actually do think that the best person they could hire is Lane Kiffin. He's been there. He's in the SEC. He's actually now getting players over Alabama. He's getting players out of the portal that aren't even he's some of the guys he signed in the portal didn't even go visit Alabama. They didn't even think about it. He convinced them to go to Ole Miss and sign and take that check. If he can do that at Ole Miss, a program that's never won the SEC, maybe it's time for him to get that shot at a true blue blood. But I guess what would scare another blue blood off is he had 2 blue blood jobs in Tennessee and USC, and those ended badly. But he's kind of a different coach now. He's not. He was very young when all that happened. He was impetuous, and I think Lane Kiffin to me would be the best hire. So I like that. Like that one to me is the best fit because he was in the Saban rehabilitation program and got better. Now, the best fit, I think, best right now would be Steve Sarkisian. But let's not kid ourselves in thinking that Texas is going to let anybody that they want to keep walk out the door. But that's just not, I mean, Alabama's Alabama, but like Texas, that's the one thing that has, like, when they're both going well, which they are right now, Texas would actually have a way to keep them out. Now, I don't know, man. I don't think Sark's going. So Lanning's not going. Sark's not going. I thought for sure it would be Dan Lanning, and then he basically was like, look, I don't want to move anymore. He's got a 10-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 13-year-old, and he's like, you know what? I want to just be in a place. Good for you, Dan. Good for you. So it's interesting. I mean, this is an earth-shattering week in coaching, which has not even had Jim Harbaugh news yet.
No.
So we've had, and we'll talk about the others later in the show because of their impact on coaching, but Bill Belichick today and Pete Carroll, and those 3 guys are intersected in a very, very, they cross each other's paths in many different ways. I mean, Pete Carroll and Bill Belichick with the Jets and Patriots and all of that. Pete Carroll and Nick Saban. Pete Carroll and Nick Saban, and the fact that Lane Kiffin and Steve Sarkisian both were, apprentices under them. So it's a really interesting time. So, I don't know. I just want to send a message to Tuscaloosa, Alabama, to keep your beefy mitts off of Mike Norvell. That's all.
I think of all the names in there, it's whenever I hear Dabo's name floated for that job, it's just like, boy, it almost feels like, in a sense, like it would be a little bit of a fairy tale for him to go back to Alabama. However, I'm wondering, and to no fault of his own, because this is not the right way to say it. I'm not suggesting that the moment has passed Dabo by. He never had the moment. Nick Saban was there for 15 years or however long.
Yeah.
17. So it's not like the moment has passed him by, or has the window open and shut now for Dabo, now that he's cooled off a little bit. And maybe how would people in Alabama react to that one? But I still believe Dabo Swinney's a heck of a football coach. I think that if he puts on that crimson red, I think there's a renewed sense of purpose. There's a new outlook on life. That's the name I feel like is really going to seriously be in the mix. I would be surprised if it wasn't.
Yeah. I would too. I think that, there are 22 coaches that beat Nick Saban at Alabama. And of the coaches who beat him multiple times, Gus Malzahn beat him 3 times. Gus is available. I hate it for my UCF friends, but Gus is available. Les Miles, not available. Dabo beat him twice. Urban Meyer beat him twice. And don't think Urban hasn't at least called him and like, hey, you think they'd ignore the fact that bad things happen in my wake and I can just go win there, because he's gonna win. It's just, when you have Urban Meyer there, that it's gonna end with a lot of bad things that have happened because he's looked the other way, or he's kicked your kicker in the balls while he's stretching.
I would rather the Lane Kiffin, and I'm not, in no way am I comparing the Lane Kiffin noise with Urban Meyer, but I would rather take on that personality than Urban Meyer at this point. I mean, it's just too tainted. It's too much of a distraction. Something will eventually happen, because something has always eventually happened.
Lane Kiffin is harmless, right? I mean, it's just, it's bravado with Lane, like there's nothing, like you're not going to have some of the very tragic things that have happened in the wake of Urban Meyer. And I don't use that word lightly when I say tragic. There are tragic things that happened because he looked the other way. And so while I do think that, he would go there and win for sure, because that's what he does, because he's a win at all costs guy, those costs for better or for worse, and I know that no one is totally lily white clean, but Nick Saban did this without Alabama, like cutting the corners that like even previous Alabama coaches cut. Like everybody cuts corners, but like there were not egregious things that went on at Alabama like there were in the past. I mean, like he pretty much handled his business for this whole time. And I do think that you're going to want to have somebody who is, again, there's not choir boys that are like coaches are not 100% choir boys. Like even choir boys have a little bit of a dark side, but if you can get one that's as close as you can, I think that that's good, And so, because the whole nature of the thing, you can't just stand on 100% ethics. You have to be willing to work on the margins a little bit. And, I think that he did that as well as anybody else, and kept, his integrity through the whole thing. And I'm not just sucking up to Nick Saban here because he's
I was just about to interject, except lie to the Miami Dolphins straight in the face. People don't forget.
Oh yeah. So. I forgot about your Dolphin thing. Yeah.
People don't forget.
Yeah.
People do not forget.
Yeah.
I've been carrying that grudge around with me for, as you said, 17 years, Paul. You think I've forgotten about that? No, I have not.
Yeah. No. I will say this though. I mean, did your opinion change at all when you found out that like he wanted to sign Drew Brees and the Dolphins were like, nah?
No, that's an organizational thing.
Yeah.
That's, he had to sign off in it too. It's not like that's not solely on him. Mm-hmm. That's not solely on, was Rick Spielman the general manager at that time? I don't remember if he was or not, but that's an organizational thing and just a constant revolving door of ineptitude at that time in that organization. So he plays a role. He's not the whole role. I'm still pissed at him for saying I'm not. He did it when he took the Dolphins job. Remember when he was at LSU? He's like, I'm not going to the NFL. I'm not going to the NFL. What does he do a week later? He takes the Dolphins job. 2 years later, he's like, I'm not taking the Alabama job. And he gets all indignant with reporters for even having the audacity to ask him the question. And what does he do a week later? He takes the Alabama job.
Yeah.
Like that to me, it just, what a scumbag, man. Like, seriously. Like, I mean, that is just underhanded, just indignant for the sake of being indignant. I understand you're not going to tell the whole truth, but at the same time, to have the audacity to get upset with people for even asking you the question when the rumors are out there, and then to basically look at them and say, you're a bleep head for asking me this question. You're an idiot for asking me this question. And then to turn and take it, like, says a lot to me about you, how you are as a person. And that doesn't sit well with me.
Yeah, I guess I never take coaches at their word anyway when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because it's just such a hard thing to navigate. Although I would say this about the Dolphins or Bama, like I would just not comment and be like, look, the best way to do it is like, look, I'm here right now. That's the thing. I'm here right now. And because that's life. Like, you've got a job you like at Fox 9 Minneapolis. And if somebody, started reaching out to you and was going to buy out your contract and bring you, that was going to be a huge opportunity for you, you would go in and tell your bosses, like, you'd be forthright with them, but you'd be like, look, I'm here right now. I'm happy, but like, here's the situation. And,
which almost happened a month ago, by the way, just, but funny enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I get your point.
Like you got to say like, if somebody wanted to hire me for the podcast, I'm deliriously happy where I am right now, but like, money talks, man. So,
correct.
So it's like, well, I'm here right now and that's all I can deal with. That's the coach speak way to say it.
It's the same reason why I will forever. I shouldn't say forever, but I will despise Brooks Koepka for a long time. What was it, last year or 2 years ago? Right in the week of the U.S. Open, somebody asked him about him potentially joining Live, and he just absolutely berates this reporter for even asking the question. And after the U.S. Open, what does he do? He joins Live Golf.
Yeah,
like it's the same reason why I'll just have no respect for somebody like that.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm here right now. Brooks Koepka also fellow Florida State Seminole, by the way. But
yes, he is. Yes, I'm aware. Yeah, who lives a very charmed life. If you peek into his life every now and again.
Yeah, no, he's spending that Saudi money really well.
Sure is.
For sure. It's just like that's the coach speak answer. I will say this, like the most unique approach to it I've ever had, and look, we continue to have a really good relationship, is Matt Rule. Like when he was here, and I know like there are Baylor people that when I say his name are just turning their nose up and angry because of how it went down. But from the beginning, he was very frank about, like, when somebody asked him about being an NFL coach one day, he was like, yeah, it's something I'd potentially like to do. But again, I'm here right now. And then we're at the Sugar Bowl where they played against Georgia. And we asked him straight up and down, like, are you considering NFL offers again? And he said, look, this is what I told the team. Look, if an NFL team offers me this much a year, should I take it? Like, so he can kind of also, I think that kind of forthrightness is important with your players because then they'll understand how life works. Because, there's only loyalty only goes so far because it has to be matched. So I can be loyal to you all the way down. Did you ever see the movie Ray?
Oh, with Jamie Foxx?
Jamie Foxx?
I have not seen it, actually.
So there's a scene in the movie Ray, and this is Ray Charles went and got this. He came up with one record label, and they let him do whatever. Like they fostered his talent, and that's who got him big. But when he got really big, a major label, the which one is escaping now. Like I'll just say it's Columbia Records because that was the big one. So they come to him and they say, well, what would it take for us to get you on Columbia Records? And he was the first artist to be able to own his own masters so that he wasn't basically borrowing his own music from the record label. Taylor Swift now owns her own masters.
Right.
It's
Yes.
Taylor's version of all the albums that she redid.
Mm-hmm.
But, he told the guys, like, look, I'm very loyal to you, but I'm asking you, can you match this offer? And then that's kind of how life is, right? Like, you're loyal until the loyalty matches you back. Like, and if you can't, that's not being disloyal. It's just, this is not in our budget to pay you this much money. Best of luck. Congratulations. It sucks that you're leaving. We'll miss you.
Yeah, and I think you said as long as you're forthright with your players first, that's what you need to be, because people can get mad at you for the decisions that you made, but if you were honest with them throughout the entire process, they can be mad all they want, but that they really don't have much ground to stand on, because as long as you were honest about it, and I'm not saying you have to tell everybody what your thought process is at every single moment, but if you could, it's a two-way street. It's just like, hey, if I'm telling you what's happening, what I'm thinking, where my head's at, I might be leaving this school. I am thinking about going to the NFL. I mean, that at least gives your employer the opportunity to be prepared. And, instead of just completely blindsiding somebody like that, I think it's, Matt Rule, when you said people were turning their nose up when Matt Rule's name is mentioned or down Wake, I'm like, why? Why? He gave you guys, what was it, 4 great years? Mm-hmm. Like, maybe not great, maybe not, initially, but like, he came at a time that was a disaster. Right.
An absolute disaster. And then got you into the Sugar Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what he did. And built up a roster that would then 2 years later go to another Sugar Bowl. And most of those guys were Rule guys. And Aranda took him to the next level where they had been. But, yeah, he was always a fixer. A fixer.
Right.
A fixer's not there for a long time because fixers move on to the next thing. Like, at least in this regard. Like, I think if he's successful at Nebraska, he'll retire at Nebraska. But because this was, the assignment was fix this disaster that has just happened to this program and this PR nightmare that they're going to be, that they're still 5% in. They're never going to ever be able to wash it off. forever because of how poorly it was handled. Although you were here, like it was
right at the beginning. Yes.
Yeah. So like it was just a mess. Right. And so he came here, did what he said he would do. And then because he said what he would do, a larger entity came and said, look, here's what we're going to give you. And he took it. Now, he wound up not realizing that David Tepper is a terrible owner.
Correct.
When somebody's offering you that much money, it's really hard to again, you don't know. He was David Tepper's first head coach. You have no idea how it's going to do, and so when it happened, it kind of just went there. So it's not like, if, for example, if somebody wants the Patriots job, they can call up and ask other coaches like, hey, what's Robert Kraft like? If Bill Belichick wants to know more about Arthur Blank, he can call up any number of guys and be like, hey, what's this dude like if I go to the Falcons? And, so on and so on. But like Matt Rule couldn't call anybody and be like, hey, what's David Tepper like? And they're like, oh, he's rich. That's what he's like.
Got a little bit of a temper on him too, maybe. But from time to time. But and that's the funny thing too about going to the NFL. When you see a guy like Matt Rule who's been successful at the collegiate level, I know this is I'm sorry to sound a little Captain Obvious about it, but it's hard to judge on how a collegiate coach, how does he really have the chops to make it in the NFL? It's like, well, he didn't have the quarterback. If you don't have the quarterback, you're gonna have a hard time being successful. Look at Arthur Smith in Atlanta. The players were praising him the other day after he was let go, praising him. But he never had the quarterback. So it's like, does that mean he's a bad coach? Heck, I don't know. But I do know that Matt Rule's a pretty damn good coach.
Yeah, no, I know. And sometimes it's just about the situation. Look, Bill Belichick, who we're going to talk about next, was he a bad coach in Cleveland or was he in a bad situation?
Right.
Like those are the things. Like wasn't.
Has it ever been a good situation in Cleveland though?
It might be right now. I don't know.
Kevin Stefanski's doing a pretty good job. Yeah, that's fair.
Yes. And, this, I do like my favorite part about the NFL this year as an Italian, even though part of it was with the Giants, but there's been a renaissance of Italian-American flair in the NFL with Tommy DeVito and now Joe Flacco.
Right. Yes.
So I appreciate, part of me is rooting for the Browns to do very well because they've got a Paisan at quarterback. I'm happy about that. And there's a nice Italian community in Cleveland. I hope that if they win a couple playoff games, he gets a sandwich named after him. He's earned it. All right? Sure. Joe Flacco, in Cleveland, Baltimore, Cleveland, he got him in the playoffs coming off the couch, which is a legendary story. Baltimore, there should be a deli with a Joe Flacco sandwich. If there's not.
No question.
If there's not, I'm coming to Baltimore and I'm going to fix things.
Yes. Yes. No question about it.
Yeah, absolutely. There should be a sandwich. Anyway, next up, 3 coaching legacies. Now, one of them will continue to coach in Bill Belichick more than likely. But 3 coaching legacies came to an end in the last 24 hours. Because even if Bill Belichick goes somewhere else, his legacy in New England, which may never be matched, is over. Just like Nick Saban's is over and his will never be matched, and Pete Carroll's is over. And Pete Carroll's might be matched, but still, it's really impressive, the career he put together for himself. He's an all-time great and will be an NFL Hall of Famer and a college football Hall of Famer because he was that good at both those things, which is also a rare thing. There's not many guys who've done what he's done as well. When we come back, we'll talk about those 3 guys and their legacy. This is the Triple Option on 365 Sports.
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks, you've probably been feeling the slowdown. And that's no good for business. A private UPN fiber network can get you and your business moving at the speed of light. Whatever you need, we can build it. Internet, Metro Ethernet, Waves, dark fiber. We deliver custom private networks and are focused on business customers only. Our next generation 100% fiber optic infrastructure offers you low latency and ultra scalable bandwidth with speeds up to 100 gigabit to run your critical applications. Your connection won't be limiting your performance anymore. It's diverse and scalable, so it can grow and change as your business grows and changes. And with a secure carrier-grade private network, you'll have all the reliability you need. Contact UPN today to learn more. Fast just got faster.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Welcome back, Pierre Nugent, Fox 9 Minneapolis, with us. And this is 2 years ago, we had a coaching cycle that was just insane with like LSU and USC and Wisconsin, like huge jobs all open at once. And it was, Lincoln Riley, and then Oklahoma opened up. And this is not going to be the same kind of cycle because it's really probably only going to affect 3 schools. Alabama, the school they hire from, and then the school that school hires from. I guess maybe it could continue to go on down the line in a never-ending circle, but eventually somebody's just going to promote a coordinator and call it a day. But it's a huge week of coaching news, and Jim Harbaugh, like I said before, still has not, we don't know what Jim Harbaugh's future is, and that's probably coming next week, where we'll know whether he's an NFL coach or not. And I think for sure he's going to be, but I've been wrong before. But it feels to me like this is the perfect time to get out of Dodge because you just did exactly what you said to do there. You can go make money in the NFL. The NCAA is going to hover around you and be annoying for as long as you're at Michigan now because of multiple things. So might as well just go to the NFL and try to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah. I think perhaps he might have been waiting to see what was happening in Chicago. Was Matt Eberflus going to stay in Chicago? Because I think, he's got a little soft spot for the Bears. Mm-hmm. But when you look across the board in the NFL, I think I don't know if I should use the word surprise because given the track record the last couple of years, it wasn't very good. But, there was a little bit of instability at quarterback. Mike Vrabel in Tennessee, who I think is a pretty good coach. Yeah. And I think Mike Vrabel will not be out of work for very long. Now that you have an opening in New England, with his connection there, would he be the next in line after Bill Belichick walks out the door? But in terms of the most attractive job, Paul, Chargers?
I think the Chargers are, if I'm Jim Harbaugh, that's where I want to go.
Yeah, because you have the quarterback in place.
Because it's not a top-down rebuild. It's kind of like a middle-out rebuild. Yes. Like you get to, they've got a great left tackle too in Rashawn Slater. So you've got that taken care of. You've got some young wide receivers and you've got some veterans. Like that's probably going to move out the door. But you can now take the quarterback who everybody knows is really good. And so you got Joey Bosa on the you've got that, right? And that's really good. I know they still have Khalil Mack, but I would assume that eventually – a lot of that salary cap is going to get cleared, but you've got a pass rusher, a left tackle, and a quarterback right now. You've also got a safety in Derwin James, who, while he's a psycho, is an elite player. They've got some good, they've got good players across the board. They've had some bad coaching the last couple of years and some injury problems, but you could really hit the ground running there, as opposed to Chicago's not open now. Washington's open, right?
Washington.
Okay, yeah. Washington has the second pick in the draft. All right, well, you're probably going to get one of those quarterbacks, but none of them have proven like Justin Herbert's proved. So I'd rather go to L.A., a place that he's been before. I believe he played there, and he coached there as an assistant as well. So, I guess not there in San Diego, but with the Spanos family, so he's familiar with them. So
coached at the University of San Diego, which is a fine institution, by the way, if you've never stepped on that campus before.
So everything in San Diego is great.
That's correct. That's very true.
So very true. You just went there, didn't you? This past year?
I was there in September. I went to go see Coldplay. Please don't call the show. Please don't email. I don't care what your opinion is about Coldplay.
I'm with you. Yeah. Buddy, I'm with you. I'm with you.
No, it was great. It's a terrific show.
Yeah. Look. Wow. And sometimes, I've told people, I've seen a couple concerts the last few years that, even if you're not a fan of some people, I think you need to go see. And I got this advice from my father, who was in Vegas with his buddies right when Celine Dion started her residency.
Okay.
So they were there, and they always went around the time of the rodeo, which is in December. And so they would see, they're country music fans, so they'd see Alabama and Brooks and Dunn and George Strait and Garth Brooks, and they saw all these great acts, and he's like, oh, you got to see them. And then they get there one year, and my dad calls me, and he goes, hey, we got tickets to see Celine Dion. And I was like, what? I was like, that didn't seem like your speed. He's like, the guy told me it was a great show. And so then in the middle, in the intermission of the Celine Dion show, my dad walked to a payphone at Caesar's Palace, called me in my college dorm at 1:30 in the morning, Tallahassee time, on a Wednesday, knowing I would be at least close to up, and said, hey, this Celine Dion show is amazing. And I'm sitting next to Vin Diesel. All right, love you, buddy. Good night. And then went back to the show.
Wow. That when epic phone call or conversation for the ages. My God.
Yeah. My phone's ringing. I saw the caller ID.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, well, it's Caesar's Palace. This can't be good.
No. No.
Like, I was like, what? So I picked up the phone. I was like, hello? And Ed's like, hey, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I'm about to go to sleep. He's like, oh, what time is it there? I was like, well, it's like 1:30 in the morning. He's like, oh, well, I'm at the intermission of the Celine Dion show. It's amazing. Sitting next to Vin Diesel and his mom. It's great. Hung up. See you. Talk to you tomorrow. Hung up the phone.
And Celine did in her own right, just an amazing voice, just an incredible singer.
Look,
so,
2 years ago, and look, I've been a fan of his my whole life, but I'm a huge Garth Brooks fan, but I'd never actually seen him in concert. And I told a bunch of people, like, look, man, you may not like him, but if you get a chance to see it, you should go because the dude puts on a show. Look, I was only a moderate Justin Timberlake fan, and then we saw him at the Super Bowl in Minneapolis, and I was like, well, guess what? I'm in. Book it.
Yeah.
I'm in. This was amazing.
Sold.
Yeah.
I mean, Coldplay in that moment, they were. I have a very short list of names now on the bands I need to see before I die. Coldplay was on there because I'd missed them twice before. I did see them at Super Bowl 50 because that was the Broncos Panthers Super Bowl, but that doesn't count. That's not their show. Yeah. So went to go see the other band, the last band that I can think of on my list is U2. Still need to go see them, but I don't want to show up to a U2 concert, especially if I'm going to the Sphere in Vegas, and I don't want to hear Bono talk about famine across the world. It's like, fine, you know what? I'm not here for this. Write a check, okay? Like I work at a job. Just play Where the Streets Have No Name for me, please. Like that's my only request when I go see YouTube.
Yeah, yeah. I think I'm kind of with you there. Like you can get. Here's what I'd negotiate. Bono, you get. Throughout the whole set, you get 2 times at 3 minutes apiece to talk about a cause.
Well, that's even longer than I would have allowed, but okay. Yeah.
I'll give him 3 minutes apiece, knowing that he's going to want 10. So,
okay. Yeah. All right.
He's going to want 10. 3 minutes apiece. Pick your 2 causes, and then we can rotate through. I'll come the next night, and I'll hear the next 2. Like I'll support your causes through my tickets, but you cannot spend as much time on them as you do on Stuck in a Moment. Like,
we'd be here for 5 hours,
Yes.
And and the unfortunate thing is you could be at a U2 concert for 5 hours and just hear pure music the whole time. Imagine that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So it is legacy, like legacies are ending.
Yes.
And Bill Belichick and what he was able to do in the NFL and Nick Saban and what he was able to do in college. And both of them, like, Saban is on the Belichick tree. And Belichick's staff in Cleveland, you should go watch the NFL Films documentary about it. It will blow your mind, like, who was on that staff. And Nick Saban was like a kind of a lower-level guy, But the 2 most brilliant coaches that have ever coached are there together. Like, it's Aristotle and Plato. Like, they're together.
Yeah.
Right? So they're both retiring the same or leaving their jobs, one retiring, one leaving in the same week. And it's just the amount of wins and things they did that nobody else did. And nobody else did, like, yes, other coaches won a bunch of titles, like Bear Bryant. But Nick Saban did it with scholarship limits and, different rules that, like, used to be really like, you think the Wild Wild West now, before they really figured out, hey, maybe we shouldn't let Notre Dame and Alabama and Michigan have 700 scholarships just to give out willy-nilly because nobody else can do that. Like, we should maybe limit this stuff. And then Bill Belichick and Tom Brady won 6 Super Bowls together with the salary cap. They navigated through the salary cap and did that over and over and over again. And so when you talk about dynasties, especially ones with restrictions placed on them, and in a league that has revenue sharing like the NFL does, because there were other dynasties back when, if you went into the Cowboys locker room, everything was nice. If you went into, say, the Bills locker room, it was a locker room, it was just kind of how it was. Now everything's opulent and beautiful and huge, but with that, they were able to be dominant. Not just winning over and over again, but dominant when they did it. And that to me is very impressive.
I think they can thank Tom Brady for that. Not because Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time, but because Tom Brady would constantly take a discount to allow the team to construct the roster as is, because Tom Brady was never in the upper, in terms of like top 5 highest paid or whatever. They always structured his contract in a way that would free up money elsewhere to build the team around him. And Tom Brady was smart enough to understand that and realize that. So, I mean, when Bill Belichick gets the credit for what he was able to do in New England, which is rightfully deserved, I'm not taking anything away from him there in that regard. Although we do need to talk about cheating scandals. That's part of his legacy as well. But Tom Brady deserves a lot of credit for the way things played out in New England, given the way that he allowed the team to maneuver money around to keep that team competitive for 2 decades. And he was a big part of that because he sacrificed probably a bigger payday that he could have taken elsewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. So I like, it's just so strange that these guys were, and it, everybody in the chat hates Bill Belichick, and I get it. Like, he's very hateable. he's very hateable. But
like I said, I mean, there is scandal that has followed him. I shouldn't say followed it, but that's part of the story. That is part of the story. And I don't think that needs to be ignored, because we had a situation with Spygate, Deflategate. I don't know. Mike Tomlin one year said he thought people were listening in to the coach's headsets or like through the locker room. I can't remember exactly what Mike Tomlin said one time, kind of alluding to the fact that there's some shady business going on around. Josh McDaniels, a Bill Belichick disciple, when he was hired as the head coach of the Broncos in his second year with the Broncos when they were overseas to play the 49ers, I believe in London, and that staff was caught filming the 49ers practice or peeking in on the 49ers practice, he was fired immediately by Pat Bowlen. That doesn't fall on Bill Belichick, but it's the type of behavior that has circled around that coach and the coaching tree. And it wasn't that long ago when they were in Cincinnati that there was another accusation of some kind of, I don't know if it was spying or whatever, a handful of years ago or so. So that's part of the story. I don't know how much it really affected Bill Belichick in terms of winning and losing, because I think he is a really good coach. Not really good. I mean, he's a Hall of Fame coach. Let's get real. Mm-hmm. But that is part of the story.
Yeah, it is. All of that is part of the story. And I understand people don't like Bill Belichick. Let's take a break right here when we come back. Let's talk about Pete Carroll and what he did at USC and then that legacy as well. I know that there was the thing at Pete Carroll's legacy at USC now, while it was maybe a little tarnished because of some, extra benefits nonsense. Now it looks like, okay.
Right.
Okay. Whatever. This is the Triple Option on 365 Sports.
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks, you've probably been feeling the slowdown. And that's no good for business. A private UPN fiber network can get you and your business moving at the speed of light. Whatever you need, we can build it. Internet, Metro Ethernet, Waves, dark fiber. We deliver custom private networks and are focused on business customers only. Our next generation 100% fiber optic infrastructure offers you low latency and ultra scalable bandwidth with speeds up to 100 gigabit to run your critical applications. your connection won't be limiting your performance anymore. It's diverse and scalable, so it can grow and change as your business grows and changes. And with a secure carrier-grade private network, you'll have all the reliability you need. Contact UPN today to learn more. Fast just got faster.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Welcome back. 365 Sports, Paul Catalina and Pierre Nugent. And Pierre, this week, coaching-wise, is just so weird. We've talked about it every segment, but the one that was kind of surprising was Pete Carroll is retiring in San Francisco and moving into an advisory role, and they're going to move on with a new coach, in Seattle. And doing that, he won a Super Bowl, should have won another one, lost to Belichick.
Yeah.
And made a very, very – I mean, that's going to be part of his NFL legacy is he could have 2 rings if he did make a very, very bad decision. And
you got Marshawn right there. He's right there.
He got you all the way down there.
God, I know.
Yeah,
I know.
Like the one thing that he was like, the one thing you would know, like at that point, like this is what we've got to do. And sometimes you can't fool people. Like you try too hard to fool people. Look, I think going back a couple weeks ago, the Lions, when they got their penalty on that 2-point conversion, the reason they got the penalty is they were trying too hard to fool everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that's what happened. I mean, like it was a weird call and the Cowboys got super lucky that happened, but that's why it happened because the Lions were like trying, did you have a cookie? I don't know.
Exactly. This is a perfect way to put it.
Like,
Did
I?
Yeah. Maybe. Pete Carroll, you mentioned it before the break when he was at USC in terms of, we talked about Bill Belichick and the stories that follow him that are going to be part of his story, with the allegations of, potential sign stealing, deflate gay, all that stuff, it's well documented. When it comes to USC at that time, and everybody knows about, Reggie Bush and, the things that were going on at USC. I think the difference for me personally is I have a hard time finding the balance of, I never want to use the excuse of, everybody's doing it. It's college football. Yeah. Everybody knows everybody's getting some kind of benefit under the table and this, that, and the other and blah, blah, blah. But for me, and I know that's a loose way to associate it, but I never felt that with those things that were going on at USC, the difference between Pete Carroll and Bill Belichick is, to me, that never affected the integrity of the game. Yeah. I never found that to be an integrity of the game situation. That will always be the biggest issue for me. And I know people say, well, I mean, if you're paying for the best players back in 2005, isn't that kind of an integrity to the game where you're offering impermissible benefits that would perhaps prevented Reggie Bush to go to another school? Who knows? I don't know. I guess maybe loosely, but in terms of on the field integrity of the game, that to me is the biggest difference when you're talking about those two guys.
Yeah. By the way, very symbolically, you see the pennant that fell down behind me is the FSU one.
Is that? Oh God!
Just
it's a bad omen.
Yeah, I know. I really don't know, but
that's a bad omen.
It just felt like I saw it right there.
7-0 win, man.
Anyway, but with Pete Carroll, and I do think that history looks differently over time. There are, you could probably look back at certain American presidents that were disliked when they were president, and then you're like, well, I'm glad he did that because that really worked out for us 30 years later. Right. Those are things and I think with Pete Carroll, you can kind of look back and go, there are a lot of people giving impermissible benefits. Let's not pretend like he was the only one doing it. So it was wrong and it was against the rules. But also, the way the NCAA was making all this money on the backs of their athletes was also wrong. And now we have changed policies in college athletics because of people like Reggie Bush getting punished. And you're like, well, Because if you ask it, like on the surface, okay, Reggie Bush is getting all this attention and selling all these tickets and making all this money for USC. Why should Reggie Bush not be able to get a little money? Because it's about like what he did. Like, should he not be rewarded for that? Isn't that what American capitalism is supposed to be about? And,
sounds like it to me, yes.
Yeah, so while it wasn't the rule then, there were people been fighting it for, like, Chris Webber was fighting it back in the 90s. So it's not like it was the first time, like, all right, well, so Reggie Bush, an agent, bought it, like, and here was the thing. The permissible benefits didn't really come from USC to Reggie Bush. It came from the agent who helped his parents get a loan for a house in San Diego, got a loan. He didn't buy them the house. He helped them get the loan so they could get a house. And I think it was blown out of proportion because people saw like, oh, this is a $980,000 house. Well, in California,
San Diego,
that is bargain basement.
Sure is.
It was a fine house, but it wasn't like Lincoln Riley's house, the coach at USC that he lives in now, that he moved him into. It wasn't in Malibu. He wasn't like walking his dog through the dog park and like, oh, look, is that Cindy Crawford? Oh, what do you know? Like that. That's not what happened. Like this was, he helped him get a loan, Perry Jones III was a basketball player at Baylor.
I remember.
He got suspended for 5 games because his AAU coach took him to a Cowboys-Chargers preseason game with 2 of his buddies.
Right.
That was the impermissible benefit. I've talked to many people about that thing. Perry Jones had already signed with Baylor. The AAU coach had nothing to do with Baylor. He was just the AAU coach that was like a surrogate father to him, and Perry Jones was very close to his father, but a family friend. So they went out to this game with his friends, and he was suspended for 5 games because that was an impermissible benefit, and Perry hadn't even been to class yet. He hadn't even shown up, but that was an impermissible benefit. So sometimes you look at these things and you're like, that changed, like you said. It didn't like Reggie Bush didn't score more points or more touchdowns for USC because his parents got a home loan that maybe somebody who was not Reggie Bush's parents at that time would have gotten. It was, they had some juice and they used it. Like, all right, okay.
You know me. I can be stubborn about things. Let's, I'm putting it nicely. To me, in every sport across the board, nobody is above the game. Nobody is above the game. Nobody is above the integrity of the game. That will always be a major sticking point with me. And that, again, brings me back to the difference between Bill Belichick and Pete Carroll in this instance, because when you question the integrity of the game, that tarnishes a legacy. It's not going to fully tarnish his legacy. I know where Bill Belichick is going to stand. And Bill Belichick it doesn't even really sound like he's done coaching yet either.
No, I think he's going to the Falcons.
Yeah, it sounds like somebody out there is going to want Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
So
he's 15 wins away from the all-time record. So that's 3 bad seasons in Atlanta, or 2 average ones. And he's got it, right?
And speaking of, if I could get off the individuals just for a moment here, like the one coaching, the one opening that has me wondering who's going to take this job and why and what are they going to do with it? We alluded to it earlier with Mr. Tepper, Carolina.
Yeah.
You have Bryce Young sitting there. Boy, does it look? It looks bad now because C.J. Stroud is playing so well in Houston. It looks bad now. It doesn't mean we're going to write off Bryce Young after 1 year. But who's going to identify Bryce Young and say, you know what, I can work with this kid and I can get him to a Pro Bowl level and we can figure this thing out in Carolina, because it is a mess in Carolina. It's a mess right now.
Yeah.
So that that to me, even though there's plenty more attractive jobs out there on the market, I'm curious to see who has the gall to say this is a big undertaking, but I want it.
Yeah, Yeah, that's going to be interesting. I want to mention something in the chat. Yes, Alan, I know that the sports agent also paid Reggie Bush cash, but he didn't pay Reggie Bush cash to play at USC. He paid him so that he would, hire him. Like, he just kind of fronted him some money, so he would hire him when he got drafted. So, again, I'm not sure how much that benefited USC as it did that guy. Right.
Correct. Like you said, it didn't help USC score any more touchdowns in a game. It's two different things. These are two different things we're talking about.
Yeah. So, and I'm not I just don't find it as egregious as some of the other things. And especially now when you've got, kids who haven't done near what Reggie Bush did, saying they want way more money than Reggie Bush ever got. Is we're going to look at that like it was something horrible now because the rules have changed so much that you're Nico Amaliava has got, he's going to make $8 million if he stays all 4 years at Tennessee.
Yeah.
Nobody gave Reggie Bush $8 million and he won the damn trophy. Right.
That's right.
So
that's right.
Yeah. That was the point, is that there's different ways to look at things, and looking at things through the eyes of history sometimes allows you to look back and think I've kind of changed my mind about this.
He was the best
new
player.
Information comes available.
He was the best player in college football.
Yeah.
Everybody knew it.
Yeah.
Everybody knew it. He's the best player in college football. He was rewarded as such. I know they vacated that, but he was rewarded as such. Everybody knew Reggie Bush was the best player in college football. So it was what are we really talking about? I know in retrospect now with all the NIL stuff and the new, we can't apply what's happening now to back then. I know we can't, but it's just when in perspective, what are we really talking about here?
Yeah, exactly. What do you, remember when Jim Tressel had to suspend all those guys and his career ended because of tattoos?
Tattoos. Yeah.
Now this seemed at the time, and he lied about it, which was the stupid thing. They got some tattoos.
Right.
All right. That was the dumb thing on Jim Tressel's part, to be yes, they did. I'm going to suspend them. Shut up about it. All right. If you were into tattoos and somebody offered you a free one, you'd take it. Shut your mouth.
Correct.
They're dumb kids. I'll let them be dumb kids. They're going to get suspended. This is over. Let's not pretend like they robbed a bank.
And it's they got a tattoo. Suddenly they're going to be first team All-American because of this tattoo. It's the Superman tattoo that suddenly propels them to an elite status. It's just so ridiculous when we think about it looking back.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Pierre, have a great weekend, buddy. We'll talk to you next week.
Appreciate it, guys.
Any big plans coming up for you?
I'm moving in 2 months, but I'm staying. Actually, in terms of big plans, I will be watching. I did get offered tickets to go to Kansas City to go watch the Dolphins and the Chiefs. And you know me, I'm a diehard Miami Dolphins fan.
Yes.
Love the Dolphins. Am I willing to stand outside for 6 hours in -0 weather to watch them probably get eliminated? No, I am not. That would be insanity. I am not going to stand outside at Arrowhead for 6 hours when it's 0 degrees at kickoff. I'm just not going to do it.
Wow. Some people are fans and some people are real fans, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would like to live to perhaps one day see them win something of note.
So when I was in college and the first new Star Wars movie came out.
Yeah. What are we talking, episode 1?
Episode 1, when it came out. I remember talking to my roommate. He and I were both big fans of the original movies, and we're like, man, this is so exciting. We were telling people there's no bigger Star Wars fans than us. In this entire city, there's nobody that's bigger Star Wars fans than us. And I went in there and got my seat and sat down, and I looked to my left, and there was Chewbacca, a stormtrooper, and a literal R2 effing D2. And I thought, you know what? I just kind of like these a lot. I'm not in love with them. I like this. It's the great quote from Mike Leach. It's like breakfast, bacon and eggs. The chicken's involved, but the pig is committed. And that was how I felt. And I get it. You get to that point of I love this team. Nobody's crazy about this team to me. Do you want to sit outside for 6 hours in 0 degree weather? Well, I still love the team, but I'm not, a stalker.
I'll put it this way though. You tell me, as being a fan of this team for 32 years and being in front of the TV every Sunday, finding a way to find them, seeing them in 5 or 6 different cities across the country, and after everything they have put me through over 32 years, you tell me who's a real fan and who's not. I'm still here. Yeah. I'm still here, damn it.
Yeah.
I'm still here.
They just haven't. Here's the thing. They have not earned the fan level of 0 degrees yet. They need to
have a football team, Paul. The whole defense is on. We can do another hour of this. I'm just infuriated. They got nobody on defense.
Yeah, but they need to do something to earn your next level of fandom.
Correct.
They're not playing the video like you're not playing the video game. They are. They're trying to get leveled up and beat Pierre, not Pierre beat the Dolphins. You are. Correct. Yes, that's what they need to do. They have got to level up. That's what they've got to do. All right.
I actually was making plans to go see them if they had a home game. I was making plans already to go down in the wild card round. I was making plans to go down to Miami to be at that game. Did not work out.
No. It did. The Josh Allen happened again.
Correct.
Yes. Yeah, that sucks, buddy. That sucks. All right. We're gone for the weekend, and then we have Tim Brando on the show today to talk about Nick Saban, so that'll be great. We've got lots of different things, but Tim Brando, Max Olson, I mean, we're going to talk about coach openings, and I hope I'm able to say Mike Norvell has signed a 700-year extension.
For your sake, I hope so, buddy. By the way, big Tim Brando fan, by the way. Great, what a professional. Good, just great. Tim Brando's great people.
Yeah, absolutely is. All right, Pierre, have a good weekend. Thanks to Garrett. Thanks to all you for watching whenever you do. This is the Triple Option on 365 Sports.
If your business is like most, you need things done quickly. But if you're still tying your critical applications together on multiple shared public networks, you've probably been feeling the slowdown. And that's no good for business. A private UPN fiber network can get you and your business moving at the speed of light. Whatever you need, we can build it. Internet, Metro Ethernet, Waves, dark fiber. We deliver custom private networks and are focused on business customers only. Our next generation 100% fiber optic infrastructure offers you low latency and ultra scalable bandwidth with speeds up to 100 gigabit to run your critical applications. Your connection won't be limiting your performance anymore. It's diverse and scalable, so it can grow and change as your business grows and changes. And with a secure carrier-grade private network, you'll have all the reliability you need. Contact UPN today to learn more. Fast just got faster.